sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do is Wednesday right here from the Fishbowl Radio Network, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel, every player compete. Listen, we got a special guest in the building. Listen, this is family, you know what I'm saying? We go way back. We'll start back, but with the way college athletics are working at any level, there's always, transition. There's things that we just got through talking about before we got on camera that you have to do to get to the next level. When you get to the next level, how do you use your resources? How do you use your opportunity to level up? With the transfer portal the way it is affecting college athletics, there's an opportunity for you to level up. Well, I got a special guest that's really about to level up. His story is what you have to do. It's the consummate work ethic. It's the consummate effort. It's the consummate belief in yourself that's propelling this young man to the next level. Got my guy Kobe in the building, Kobe Brown, and as well as my guy Steve, Coach Stevie Brown from MTX Elite as well. But Kobe's the center of attention where we're going to start today, you know what I'm saying, because he's a high-level athlete, and we're going to talk about his journey. But first of all, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. My guy Stevie Ray in the building and Kobe, man, how you guys doing, man?
Hey, we're good.
Glad to be back.
Absolutely. Well, listen, first of all, I want to start with you, Kobe. Your journey to where you are now, you know what I'm saying, where you played in high school, how you got to college, and then we're going to go through some of the things that you went through in your experience when you get to college, which I think the background of that shows to where you are now, the perseverance and the work ethic, because you're constantly working on everything. Yeah. And now, you're doing something that you hadn't really concentrated on, and now it's kind of blossoming for you. But start, where you went to high school and then your collegiate journey as well.
So I went to high school at West Mesquite High School, and I played football there, ran track as well, but only for a year. And many people really don't know, but I was a junior on JV coming out of high school. I wasn't really looked at as a collegiate athlete. I mean, there was a time where even my own coaches or coaches from other schools was like, maybe this isn't for you. But I ended up blossoming my senior year, and that got me a look from McPherson College and a few other colleges, and I chose to take the scholarship at McPherson, and that's where I played football for 4 years. And then at the end of that, I was able to start all 4 years, but at the end of that, I chose to join the track team, and that's where I am right now.
Absolutely. Now let's backtrack a little bit. I thought something was interesting what you said, and this is a lot of, we get these questions, Coach, how do I get this exposure, or how do I get a write-up, or how do I get seen? Right now I'm not high on the depth chart at my school, and a lot of times late bloomers or guys that are just not peaking at the right time. Everybody's athletic skill, blossoms at the right time. And Coach, you can speak to this as well. Yeah. I see you nodding your head. But being a JV player going into a junior, let's be honest. We all play football. When you round the locker room and around, guys, that's frowned upon in a sense.
Yeah.
But mentally, how did you fight through that? Because you had to have some self-belief about yourself.
Well, I really want to give a testament to my dad and my support system. I think that's where I'm going to start first, because there was times where I didn't want to play anymore. In the locker room, it would be people would do stuff to my locker, or they make jokes, or they spread stuff around the school, because especially in Texas, you know how big football is.
I already know it. Yep.
You a junior on JV?
Right.
Oh, nah.
Right.
But there was one particular part of the summer going into my senior year where I had to sit down with my dad, and we talked about, where do you really want to go with this, and what do you really want to do? And I decided I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to show the younger generation that it is possible, no matter what background you come from, no matter what may be holding you back. I want people to know that it's possible to do. And I think that's the mindset that drove me.
Well, we always talk about the physical and athletic ability, when it comes to athletics. But the mental side, I think, is something that we don't get a chance to speak about.
Yeah.
As we've seen, tragic things happen to guys in our circle, athletes that we know, families that we know, in the last few months, just in the first part of the year. I think that's something that we don't really concentrate on. And Kobe, talk about that. You mentioned your support system. I think that's something that you have to have. It takes a village.
It does. So, I mean, it consists of aunts, uncles, of course, my dad, my mom, and I really don't think they know how much I was really going through at that time.
Right.
Like, depression is real. It's real, but I had to fall back on my faith, on my family. I mean, we had a lot of long talks. And I think every athlete who may be dealing with the pressure of sports, even if it's not that big, it can grow on you. It can really grow on you. They have to sit down and you have to really put out, like, even write it in a journal. What am I doing this for? What are the outcomes? What are the pros? What am I really working towards? Like, who are the people that are dependent on me? And I just had to put that all in perspective for myself.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, you seeing this, from a parent's perspective, right, but you also have to mix in a little bit of your, the coaching with that. Yeah. At this particular time, you see him kind of, going through this, and sometimes as parents, we have a false sense of where they are at athletically, but knowing you and knowing your background, I know you didn't. You wanted to push more. Talk about that.
Yeah. A large piece was I played high school ball. I played college ball, so I kind of understood. I seen a lot of guys come into the locker room in high school and college, and it just didn't pan out.
Right.
Not knowing what their support systems were like, but it just didn't pan out for the kid or the athlete. I'm in the locker room with them.
Absolutely.
So I kind of knew how to navigate it based on the experiences that I had with that. And I just told Kobe, man, like I said, we had the long conversations. It was some long nights, early mornings. And but I saw what he did it already. God was already giving it to me, so I already knew what the deal was. And so I pushed him. I said, man, listen, we're not gonna quit. We're gonna show him. Mm-hmm. We're gonna show him that it takes a little hard work. And so, man, we went back into the lab. Man, and he had a growth spurt doing his from the junior year to his senior year. Got stronger. Got fast. We were working out, man.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be real with you.
Absolutely.
We were working out.
Absolutely.
Man. It wasn't you talk about some 2 days.
Absolutely.
And we were working, man. And it just happened. Got a couple of offers there, man, late, and it worked itself out, man. Hard work pays off, man. That's not some cliche, man.
Right.
If you work hard, man, and like you said, you set goals, you kind of see where you're trying to go with this stuff. Right. It'll work out, man.
Absolutely.
It'll work out. And here's the crazy thing about it. We took his JV film and still posted it from games.
Right.
And that stuff, you could take his JV film and you can see the growth.
Right.
You can see it from JV to you can see the growth, man.
Right.
And it's crazy to watch it.
Right.
Because I'm there and I'm watching this whole thing transform in front of me. So it's you. I would advise parents. You have to be all in with your kids.
Absolutely.
You have to be all in. Kids have to train. Kids have to get into the weight room. Kids got to do stuff outside of school. And parents, you just got to be all in. And I just not a lot to say on that. Just parents, you have to be all in.
Right. Well, I think that I talk about this from week to week, right, on the Marc show. It's to educate the parent. If the parent's not educated about this recruiting process and about what it does, or what the parents need to have the kids involved in, surrounded by, exposed to get to the next level, then the kid's gonna fall behind. Now, there's some things where you just wait. You got to wake up out of bed. They got the measurables. They got the speed, the height.
Pass the eye test.
They pass the eye test.
The eye
test will get you in the door, but can you do something with it?
Right.
And we all know that. We see eye test type people step off the bus all the time, but sometimes they stuck in the mud and position specific things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the reason that we started this and that I do this, in all aspects that I do things, is to help the parent get the player where they need to be. Because I've been that parent, but I also educated myself for being around the right people and being around the right circles and getting the kids in front of the right people. That matters now today. You know what I mean? And this is where we're talking to Kobe and Coach Brown today is, of course, Coach Brown was a college teammate of mine.
Yeah.
So, we kind of go way back. But Kobe's story, and I had been telling, I said, we got to get you back on, because I think that this fits the climate of college athletics today. And it shows that you can do something if you put your mind, your heart, your soul, and everything into it. He invested in himself, took a chance on himself. And that's why we want to talk about this. Now let's talk about McPherson College. This is not nothing to sleep on when it calls to go to college. You know what I'm saying? I'll share a little story with you. Your dad was already a guy when I got to college. You know what I'm saying? Me coming as a freshman. I'm coming from Houston, Texas, to Magnolia, Arkansas. It's a totally different twist. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I was 17 years old. They dropped me and tail lights went off. I didn't see my parents no more until Christmas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was by myself. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. I know how to play ball, but this is a totally different atmosphere. I'm setting the stage to say this. When you're a freshman, when you get to college, it doesn't matter what level it is. Guys like Stevie Ray was experienced. You had the Kenny Homers, the UTs, and he knows who I'm talking about. Yeah. The Corey Scarboroughs. These guys were established college athletes when I got there. So to see those guys, take that first step. The first day was 140 degrees. I was telling somebody, 104 degrees, I'm sorry. I was telling somebody the other week, they had 4 ambulances, one on this side and one on this side. I thought, coming from Houston, the hood, we didn't see ambulances unless something happened to somebody. They were waiting for somebody to fall out. First day of practice, you couldn't feel anything but heat. So I'm saying that to say this, you don't have that experience coming from high school. I don't care what level it is. It takes a while to get yourself ingrained into that culture. You know what I'm saying? Me coming in as a freshman, it's about the mid-season, my mentor was there. I was in shape fine. I was in college shape, not high school shape. That's two different things. You know what I'm saying? And watching these guys work, I watched these guys like Val and Stevie Ray and those guys and Bebe and those guys. These were already guys that were established collegiately. You know what I'm saying? So talk about your journey when you first get to McPherson.
Man, and I'll even go into the summer before that. I would text dudes that were already in college at bigger schools, like, what are the workouts like, or what do the coaches expect from you? So I knew we had to get in the lab and train, because I knew it would be different. Yeah. And one thing I could say is, when you first come in, you can't be scared of competition, because like you said, there's some dudes that they already that.
Right.
3-4 years older than you.
Right.
And you can't be scared to ask questions from the older guys. And so when I went in, I remember 2 days before, I hadn't even finished packing up my dorm room and getting everything straightened out. Conditioning test.
Say it one more time.
Conditioning test. Before I even unpacked everything into my dorm, conditioning test. 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were already watching. They were already seeing who really has the mentality.
Right.
No playbook, no nothing, but who's willing to push themselves.
Right.
And I think that's a mindset you already have to have going into it.
Right.
Because like you said, this ain't high school. This ain't nothing else.
Right.
You should already know in your head, I'm working for something further, bigger than myself.
Right.
And that's what I truly believe.
Well, you mentioned that, and shout out to some guys that I've been talking to. There's a condition test. I had no idea about that. Yeah. You don't practice until you pass the condition test. I didn't know that. These guys are over there practicing. I'm sitting over there trying to get myself ready to practice, and I ain't even make it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we did that mile and a half. We did that mile and a half for conditioning.
Yeah. It's tough, man. And I'm telling you guys this for a reason. It's because there's levels to the game. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know that until you get in the fire with it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in high schools, all district, all state, they demand where they came from, playoffs, state championships, and all that. When you get to college, all of those guys are the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You have to prepare yourself, but you don't know until you get into it. Now, these last couple of years at McPherson, y'all have been really successful. You had a lot of accolades, a lot of success. Yeah. Talk about how that changed your mindset, because you started to kind of flex your muscles a little bit. You started to feel yourself a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a crazy transition for me, because like I said, I went from a junior on JV to now I'm the guy. People see me on campus. It's like, oh, Cole, what up? Oh, what did you do this week? Oh, what's up with this?
Right.
And it's hard to not get a big head. It's hard to get on shaky ground.
Right.
It's hard to stay focused on the goal.
Right.
And I had to struggle with that. But once again, I go back to who am I doing it for? What am I doing it for? And that's when I learned how to balance out the college life with the athletics.
Right.
And one thing I will say is I always thought it was about keeping your head down and working and never going out and doing anything. But some of the connections you get as a college athlete by just going out and talking to people are some of the connections you'll remember forever.
Right.
But it's all about balance. And I think that's something I really learned over these past few years.
Now, you talk about balance. Now, there's another adjustment that you speak of as an athlete, the academic part of it.
Yep.
You know, you don't have time. You know what I'm saying? I'll go back to this particular time when I got to college, you know, and he can attest to this. We up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. You can't be late. This is how we started the day. You know, we had practice in the morning, a lift. Before we eat and go to school, this is all before 8 o'clock.
Yep.
We go to class. We come back, have a meeting before practice.
Yeah.
Practice.
Yep.
Study hall was mandatory for freshmen. Mandatory. So I didn't get back to the dorm till 10 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I had to repeat this every day. You know what I'm saying? All through the football season. Now, the spring was a little bit different, but it was still early morning, wake up. But the thing about, you know, collegiate athletics, and Kobe, I'll get your opinion on this, is you're on a time schedule. And if you don't adjust to that and aren't disciplined with it, I mean, that put discipline in my life that I didn't have at the time. But talk about that a little bit, you know, your academic part of it and getting adjusted to that.
And I'll say I think that's what got a lot of guys. Like, from my freshman class, there aren't many people who I looked around and saw at the end of last season. Everybody had either dropped out or was just back home working, and a big part of it was just the time management and organization. They couldn't get that part.
Right.
And I put myself in that. Freshman year, it was terrible.
I ain't gonna lie.
I was late to at least 3 or 4 meetings.
And freshmen get 8 o'clock classes.
Yeah. Yep.
You know
I had 8 a.m., 10:30 a.m., and then I had a 3:30 p.m. before practice.
Right.
And so it just took a lot of getting used to. And one of the things I did was I went to the older guys. I asked, how do you do this? Or how did you work with this?
Right.
And I would have them, you know, calling me, checking up on me. We would set meetings. We would set weekly meetings I would have with the older guys in the DB group just to keep me on track, because that is a big piece of it.
Right. Well, I think that, you know, and that's why I wanted to get your input on that. You know, Coach Brown, how did you deal with that? You know, of course, at the time we met, you were a junior already, but you know, we talked about this the last time. You know, coming from high school, you were one of those guys, state of Arkansas, you know, heavily recruited guy. Made your decision to go, you know, to Southern Arkansas University. But how did you deal with the academic stuff and get yourself ingrained that by the time we met, you know, you had everything pretty much under control.
Yeah. I was I was a junior when you met me, man. Freshman year was a struggle, because I actually went in, man, and played my freshman year, you know, a lot. But the classroom, man, it was tough, man. Trying to sort of like what Kobe said, man, just, you know, study hall was mandatory,
right?
And you know, I wasn't that student like I should have been,
right?
And so then I was just enjoying the college life, man, and had some struggles there, and
no doubt,
and but I really didn't get it together, man, until my sophomore year.
Right.
My sophomore year, man, I walked into that coach's office, and I remember Coach Toomey. He said, hey, Steve, man, we're gonna redshirt you. And it was because of my grades.
Right.
My grades had dropped.
Absolutely.
Listen, man, I remember this. I told Coach Toomey, I said, don't do that. He never had another issue out of me.
Right.
He's about to redshirt me just because of my grades.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I said, don't do that. And so I played that sophomore year still. I started that sophomore year too, but my grades in the classroom, man, I turned it up, man.
Right.
I was playing around.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a challenge, man. I challenge every young man out there. And once again, I had no support system in college, I was actually on my own in college. So
Absolutely.
like you said, you know, with nobody check, no, but the support system, parents stay involved.
Absolutely.
Parents, when your kid get to college, stay involved. Forget what people are saying about they're grown. No, they're not. Stay involved. You know, check on them. You know, check their classes. Stay in tune with your kids in college, because it's crazy out here.
Absolutely, man. It's one of those things where you have to stay involved as a parent, like you said. But now, you know, I'm going to ask you this question. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. Kobe makes the decision to go to McPherson, which is a smaller school. Mm-hmm. You went to a smaller school,
yes.
So you kind of had that, you know, mindset is, hey, you know, let's sit down and let's talk about this. You know, all of the other schools that you looked at, you had a couple of offers. what can this school do for you? You know, you were a small school guy, you know what I'm saying, and you come out with a degree, and that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? Talk about that and how you kind of led him and the advice you gave him picking a school.
Yeah, I didn't want to put too much pressure on him because he was in a situation where dad was an athlete, mom was an athlete, both had finished. She went to Graham, I went to Southern Arkansas. We both got degrees. You know, we're both established. You know, so my deal was trying not to put too much pressure on him, but yet put pressure on him.
Right.
You know, so he can understand that, man. Yeah, what we want is a degree. The sports is cool, but we want a degree.
Absolutely.
And so try not to put too much pressure on him, man. And so, like I said, there had to be a balance. Had to be a balance, man, of me being dad, and plus I coach too. So there had to be a balance, man. And there were tough times, you know, where trying to stay within that balance. It's tough, man.
Yeah,
as a dad and you're a coach.
Absolutely.
You know, and you see them kind of slacking sometimes.
Yeah.
And, you know, but so to navigate, a lot of times parents. This is for all parents. So to navigate that classroom, sports, while they're in high school. Now I'm talking about high school specific. Okay. Whew. Well, I just thinking back to this boy being in school, man.
Absolutely.
So it's tough, man.
It's tough.
So he was going through.
Right.
Parents, he was going through. Now here's the thing that helped me with him. He wasn't using drugs. He wasn't going out to parties. He wasn't out chasing girls. And then he wasn't out drinking alcohol.
Right.
So those 4 things kind of helped our home. And when I say it helped our home, not just us, but our home situation, because he wasn't out doing those things. Right. Even though he was dealing with the bullying and stuff at school, you know, so we talked with counselors at the school. Me and my wife got together and we talked about that stuff, man. But to stay in the sports and to stay in education was the key.
Right.
So we talked about school, man. Let's go to school.
Right.
McPherson, we go to McPherson. Okay, we go visit a couple schools. We go to McPherson, and it's crazy because we all went. Me, him, and my wife, we went. We walk on the campus. Me and him. My wife stayed at the hotel. Me and him go on campus, do the walk around with the school, with the coaches, right?
Right.
And love it.
Right.
Love it. Get back to the hotel, and me and him talking. The wife is there. We said, let's go to McPherson.
Absolutely.
And the wife says, why y'all didn't just sign then? Why didn't you just go ahead and sign it? And we walked right back. We turned right back around and walked out the door and went and sat down with McPherson. That was that.
Right.
You know, and then he kind of can share the rest of that experience.
Absolutely. I'll share a little secret with y'all. After I left SAU, I went on a visit to McPherson.
That's crazy.
Took a 16-hour bus ride by myself.
But
you know what I'm saying? My cousin was actually playing there, and we were trying to link up at the time, and that was supposed to be my next destination. After that, they had all the paperwork done and everything, the scholarships and everything. But then I pivoted and went to Northwestern Oklahoma State. But McPherson was so upset that we left because my cousin ended up going somewhere, and I followed him.
Dang.
But I went to Mac, enjoyed it. It was cold. You know what I'm saying? But my cousin was all comfort, safety, and everything, and that was my next destination. So I had some familiarity with McPherson. Great place. Guys, if you're getting recruited by Mac, right now they're coming off y'all won conference this past year, right?
Well,
second.
Okay. 8-3.
8-3. But they've been playing great ball the last couple of years.
Yes, it's been great the last couple of years, man.
Very competitive conference in the KCAC, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But, I mean, you get the opportunity to go somewhere, you better take it. And right now, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Only 7% make it to the next level. That 7% includes NAIA, D1, D2, JUCO, Power 4, Power 5, Group of 5, whatever you want to call it, 7% make it from high school. Think of the dozens, the millions of high school kids that don't get that opportunity. They have to hang their cleats up after they graduate. They're done. Take advantage of your opportunity. Now, you mentioned, the adjustment, Kobe, of mentally of getting all this fanfare. And, how did that affect your confidence now? Because you're the man. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the film, and, of course, we talk all the time. You're the man now. How does that build your confidence up?
Honestly, it just still feels surreal to me. But the only thing I think it changed was my ability to go out and connect with people. I've always been the guy to just sit back and it's straight football school because I was so scared of falling off again and being that guy that's just like, we don't need them.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I've been able to make so many memories. I got out of my comfort zone on a lot of things.
For sure.
And that's one of the things that allowed me to walk into that track office and be like, hey, I can help you right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, past me would have never did that.
Right. Well, the confidence is there, and you play ball with a swagger, but track is a different animal. Let's switch gears. Track is a thing where you have to really, really work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. My youngest son was a track athlete, so I understand, the time and commitment that you have. Shout out to Coach Jay who trained him, Coach Athletics, Epic Sports Apparel CEO. Today we're talking to Coach Brown from MTX Elite, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Kobe Brown, listen. All conference corner, but now track athlete. We're gonna talk about that, and I want you to run some of these numbers. I know y'all got them, right? Yeah. I want you to run some of these numbers. He competes in track after football this year, and when the last time you ran track was in high school, right?
High school.
So, in the year perspective, how long was that?
4.5 years.
4.5 years of not competing, but you jump into this.
Yeah.
What in your mind made you turn that switch on, and think, hey, track and field is now something I want to revisit? Tell me about that.
Well, from the start, I had always wanted to run track, but it was kind of a thing where football players at Mac, they can't really switch over to sports.
Right.
And I just wanted to bet on myself. Right. And apparently it worked out, because the way the football season ended, I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with my performance at all.
Right.
But I was like, I don't want to leave on this note.
Right.
And I know what I can do.
No doubt.
So I talked to my parents, and I was like, I think I'm going to go for this.
Yeah.
And then I walked in that office the next day, and it was all said and done.
Right.
No matter what happened, I wanted to take a chance.
Right.
I learned that if I can take chances on myself more often, I'll be better for it.
Well, you did, and, this past spring season, man, I probably talked to your pops weekly about this, and he was sending me stuff, man. Yeah. And each time I was just overtaken with joy to see it. A lot of times, from my perspective and the things that I do, is we get a chance to see kids evolve. I was at a big camp this weekend. Usually I start to see these guys from middle school to high school, and I keep up with them, and, the time that, we met and started to connect, I seen your growth as an athlete, your confidence and everything. But track's totally different. Now, this guy put on a show this year down in McPherson, all conference, made it to nationals. Talk about the events that you got a chance to participate in, and just that hunger that you showed this year.
So I went into the office and said I was a jumper.
Okay.
Because they only had one jumper, and I didn't know how I matched up against the sprinters. Like you said, track is different.
Right.
I knew I was football fast, but
right.
I didn't know what I was getting into with them other dudes.
Right.
So I didn't want to just sell them dreams.
Right.
And so I jumped for a few meets, and then we actually went to the University of Nebraska, and he put me in the 60-meter dash for indoor.
Right.
And I ended up winning my heat against D1 schools.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I might have a little something.
Right.
And then I started looking at the times. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm still at the bottom of this. Yeah,
right.
I won my heat, but I'm not where I need to be yet.
Right.
And he called me back to the office. He's like, you can make it as a sprinter. And then transferring to outdoor.
Right.
We went through 100-meter dash, 200, and those were supposed to be my only events.
Right.
I dropped the jumping events after they put me in the 400. First time ever running a 400.
That's a man's race, boy.
Yeah, I went 48 flat. And he's like, man, you a 400 runner now. Dropped all the jumping events, and then I was able to become all conference in the 1 and the 2. And then I was able to go to nationals in the 400 and the 200. I mean, I broke the 200-meter dash record. I'm number 2 all time in the 400, and I'm number 2 all time in the 100. Yeah.
These are school records now.
School records.
At your school.
Yep.
Conference records.
Yep.
In one season.
One season.
That's a testament to what you have in here, and in here. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to bring them on. I have been we and Dad have been talking for a couple of weeks. I wanted to get this across because this says what an athlete goes through. This also says it doesn't matter what level. Like he said, he was competing he went to Nebraska, and then track is different. Mm-hmm. They get all the schools together at these open meets. You know what I mean? So you competing against the big time guys, the Power 4 guys, and putting up the same identical numbers that they were. Mm-hmm. You are doing it, and that's the reason that I wanted to have you on this show, man. First of all, congratulations. Super excited for you.
Thank you.
And now this has opened up doors for other opportunities for you now.
Yep. So
talk about that since track. You kind of went through the track season, but your line, of course, your dad was telling me your line was blowing up already. Football's over with. Yeah. But a lot of times football and track connect. So now you're starting to get this other interest now. Mm-hmm. Talk about that and how excited you were about that.
So it was almost overnight. This had to be near the end of the outdoor season when I started dropping like crazy times. And so we discussed it, and NCAA eligibility, I have a year left for football, and then I have a couple of years left for track. And so coaches were DMing me talking about my track times, and they were like, man, you got something. And then that made them turn on my football film because I was like, I played football at Mac for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was like, your film is good, and these times are telling us you got potential. So there's schools that are willing to take a chance. D2, D1s, I mean, I never expected to be in this position.
Right.
And it all was off one opportunity and me not giving in on myself.
Right. But you bet on yourself.
Yep.
You know, that's the message that I'm sending, you know, with this particular show today is he bet on himself. You know, if you don't bet on yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, then, you know, you just kind of floating in space. You're just kind of running around like a chicken with your head cut off. But the belief, you know, you took the time to do it. You already knew you could do it, but putting it on paper and putting it out for the world to see is the thing you have to do. And staying, you know, 10 toes down with it, you know, in a sense that, hey, you know, like you said, you walked into the office, he was like, hey, coach, I can help you. Now you got an opportunity to do something else. The big thing that you got out of all this is he graduated. He got the degree. Talk about that. First of all, congratulations. Talk about that a little bit.
When my family came down there for graduation and I was just looking up in the crowd, I'm like, I really did this because it takes a lot.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I can even express how much it takes. But what I learned was nothing ever really goes according to your plan or the vision you have in your head. Rarely does that ever happen. There's bumps and bruises. There's courses across the road that you're going to go through that you never thought you would enter into.
Absolutely.
And you have to find a way to pull yourself out of it. And I'll go back to my support system. It's okay to lean on people.
Right.
Because there were some times, especially early on, where I just tried to keep everything to myself. I'm like, they dropped me off here. Now I'm a real man, so it's up to me to deal with the problems.
Right.
No, that's not how it is. Nobody can really make it on their own, especially not in college.
Yeah.
Not a full 4 years. So lean on people at your university you want to go to. Lean on your family. Lean on people who really care about you and want to see you succeed.
Man, I mean that says it in a nutshell. You know, I just had a son graduate from college, same thing as you. He went to college playing baseball at first, but he was in that COVID year.
Yeah.
So he gets the scholarship. He goes, works out. You know, they have fall ball or whatever. Yeah. Then they just kind of shut everything down in the spring. So that was a time period where he was on campus, but he couldn't go to class. So everything was in his dorm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you get compartmentalized and you get shut down. And, you know, us as parents, we had to make sure that we kept in touch and stayed with him on a daily basis going through that. Because you don't get an opportunity. Even he's in the dorm room with these other people, but they don't want you to have no contact. Yeah. You know, as an athlete, as a student, you know, he's 6 hours away from home or 4.5 hours away from home. You know what I'm saying? As an 18-year-old, that's a different process. So, you know, I can relate when you say staying in their pocket, staying, in their wheelhouse as a student. But, you know, he ends up, the school closes when he comes home for Thanksgiving. Yeah. It closed, shut down, baseball scholarship gone, everything. Dang. He comes home for a semester, but his mindset was he wanted to get his degree, and he just graduated. Shout out to DeMarcus for graduating from Southern Nazarene University. He had to pivot and do something else, but he got his degree now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that you have to do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sharing that because, you know, I go through this I've gone through this as a parent. And then, you know, the things that I do, you know, with this and, you know, the scouting, the writing, the whatever else I do, a lot of people, you know, I do a lot of things. But, you know, I see kids and parents, and they always ask these questions about what do you have to do to get to the next level when it comes to academics and athletics, which they run together. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's why I've been talking to you. And I said, I got to get Kobe. Because I want to send this message. Because it's right now, June 1st, what happens? Big camp season, the SMUs, the Texas Tech. Everybody's going to camp now. We're talking about football. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But do you have what it takes to get seen? Do you have what it takes to make it to the next level? This is living proof that it can be done. Now he has the opportunity to go and play at a higher level, that's what he wanted to do at first. But he took the long road travel to get there. Now he has an opportunity because of his work ethic, his support system, and everything that he brought to the table as an athlete and as an academic scholar. Now he's got an opportunity to go wherever he wants to go now. But, we were talking the other day, kind of what are your plans now? You kind of got options now. You're still weighing them. So what do you think that process is going to be for you now?
Honestly, I don't know a for sure answer I can give you.
Yeah.
But whether it's I go on scholarship for track and then walk onto a football program, prove myself, or I get on scholarship for football and then run track, I just want to keep going.
Right.
I want to keep my story open because this chapter that just closed, it showed me that it is possible.
Right.
Like, I always preach to the younger kids or kids that might be in my position, like, yeah, it's possible you can do it. But now that I actually have done it myself, I want to keep proving it. I want to keep proving that you can go as high as you want to, but you just can't stop. And when doors close, every time God closes a door, he's going to open another one.
Right.
And that stuck out to me.
Absolutely.
Because I thought my road was done after this football season was over.
Right.
I mean, you can tell you, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And then I kept looking. I kept searching.
Right.
I believed in me. I believed in what we worked on. I
Right.
believed in God.
Right.
Another door open.
Right.
And now I just got to keep working and keep doing what I've been doing.
Well, I mean, the hard work shows, and from somebody looking from afar and seeing, through talking to your dad on a weekly basis and, seeing the film, you know what I'm saying? And this goes back to, I think, when you were sophomores, when we kind of really started to connect. The last 3 years at Mac, now the track thing, which I thought was so amazing.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to get you here today to tell that, because so many athletes think that everything's sweet. They think it's sweet like a box of donuts. You know what I'm saying? It's not. And you're here to tell them that. But you're proof that it can be done if you stay dedicated. Shout out to my guy, Jack Bridges, discipline. Shout out to Donovan Bean, by any means necessary. SD Johnson, my guy, Coach J. You know what I mean? Sacrifices have paid off. These are all the things in the comments that people are saying that they're listening to this story, and that's the reason I wanted to share this with the parents and players that tune in to the On Your Mark Show. Definitely, you should be following the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. This will be up later. But we're going to switch gears a little bit before we get out of here. MTX Elite, I know it's a big summer for you guys going on, Coach Brown.
Right.
You really, really have put your stamp down over in that Mesquite area,
Yeah.
as really bringing the forefront to getting these kids ready. Something that you talk about all the time to these parents is, what are you going to do to help these kids get to the next level, and you're doing it. Talk about MTX a little bit. First of all, go back and talk about how you got this started.
Right. Hey, so look, so it started, man, with my son and some of his friends. Him and some of his friends came one day. He said they get ready to have a meeting at McDonald's with some dads, and I just happened to show up at McDonald's that day with those boys, and and here's the thing: it was a bunch of our boys who play sports together, who were trying to do something positive.
Absolutely.
They already had the name of the other team. It was a 7-on-7 team. They already had the name MTX Elite. So our boys were trying to do something positive, and I had to become a part of that. And so we did that, and we did 7-on-7. We got a team together, and we did 7-on-7. And some of the parents bagged out. But, with me coaching and being a teacher, I wasn't bagging out. And so, hey, long story short, MTX Elite was birthed from that. My son and some of his friends, and we kept it going. And now we're certified 501(c) program. We're doing mentoring. We're in the communities doing things for our communities, for our boys and families. Go to MTX Elite, inc.org. MTX Elite, inc.org, and just go see some of the things that we got going. We're getting ready to start our summer program, which is our strengthening and conditioning program for all ages, boys and girls. That starts next week. It's an 8-week program. That's $50 for the whole summer, for the whole 8 weeks, and it's strength and conditioning. Kobe was in it. So we're gonna give you MTX Elite.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing right now.
What's that MTX stand for?
The MTX is Metro of Texas.
Okay.
Metropolitan of Texas.
Okay. Meaning you don't just focus on your area. You go, and I've seen you reach out. You reached out. Hey,
Yeah.
you want kids from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. All walks of life.
All walks of life. Bring them. Our boys. Hey, our boys need somewhere to go. Listen, I got kids from Duncanville. I got kids from Lancaster. We got kids from all over the Metroplex. From Forney. We got kids from everywhere that's coming out to our program.
Absolutely.
So MTX Elite, Metropolitan of Texas, Metro of Texas, Elite. Hey, go MTX Elite, INC.org. Go to the website, click on it, and just see some of the things that we're doing. Learn about us.
Absolutely. Well, I think, you make sure that you really, really concentrate on the kids and trying to mentor them as well. Right. How important is that? Because, in today's society, you mentioned young boys. We got to get these guys early. You know what I'm saying? And the young ladies as well. You don't you have young ladies in there, but, us as black men, it's different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to get those guys early, that don't have that mentorship in the home, that need that extra help, that need that extra hand. Sometimes they have both parents in the home and still don't get that.
Still don't get it.
They need someone outside of that to just bring them in and say, hey, this is the way you do this. And it's not just about athletics. It's about academics. You're an educator as well.
Right, educator.
Yeah.
I am an educator.
Talk about that a little bit.
And so I am a teacher. I'm a teacher by career. I teach and I coach. So I've been teaching for 9 years. I've been in the education system for 9 years. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. I spent 17 years in the juvenile system as a probation officer, and I've seen some scary situation with our boys, with our youth period at such young ages. And so I moved from that, from being a probation officer, being a field probation officer, and working with those juveniles and those kids that's 10 to 17-year-olds and involved in our system. And I moved into the classroom and just want to do something of my own. So I started the mentoring program with MTX Elite, and so that's what we've been doing. We're in the community, MTX Elite, INC.org.
Well, definitely, man, you've been doing big things in the community. That's one reason I wanted to make sure we visited that as well as give Kobe his flowers for his hard work and dedication and tell that story. On top of that, it's part of it. You started this to help him, but you end up helping other people and reaching into other families, and that's what it's all about. That's what the On Your Mark show is about, is to educate and elevate you. Every time I touch a mic, every time you see my face on here, I want to educate you about something when it comes to getting, the main thing is getting the exposure when it comes to athletics, to do it the right way. If you want to get recruited, we want to tell you how to do it, but you also have to hear what it takes to get there. Right. It's not easy. It's not cupcake stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not something you're just going to get up overnight and get it done. Even if you got the athletic ability that you wake up, you still have to foster that. You still have to mold that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a competitive environment. Texas is one of the most competitive environments in the country when it comes to academics and athletics. Yeah. But we want to make sure that we tell that story each week right here from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Go ahead and give out the social medias where they can get in touch with you guys too.
On Facebook, it's just, it's my name, Steve Brown. On all social medias, just go to Steve Brown, Steve R. Brown or Steve Brown. Click on Steve Brown. All the MTX Elite stuff is going to pop up, and you'll get to see kind of the journey. On Facebook, it's Steve Brown. On X or Twitter, it's Steve Brown. On Instagram, it's Steve Brown. Okay, and you'll see it. There's only one.
Absolutely.
So you know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. You just watch the journey. You see Kobe's journey on there. You see some of the things that we've done within the communities. You see a lot of great things going on. And let me emphasize this again. Our boys, your sons need somewhere to go. They need somewhere to go. And yes, we are a God-fearing program. We instill those spiritual. Your boys need us, okay? Parents, your boys need us.
No doubt. You need guys like this in your life, man. And shout out to my guy J Mac who just tapped in. I'm sure the Dub will be on tonight as well. They do a great job, and those guys mentor athletes as well in the community. Behind the scenes, I know everybody sees what you do on camera, but it's a lot of things that we don't talk about that going on to help the community. Right. It's, I don't do this thing for public fanfare. It's a lot of things that we do. Behind the scenes, Coach Jay with Coast to Coast Athletics, training kids, mentoring kids all over the country. This is more about trying to help them get to the next level as adults as well. You know,
Come
because
on.
it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? You mentioned the struggle when you get to college. You know, it's things that you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? And keeping them in your hip pocket, like you said. You know, they think they grown, but they ain't grown all the way. You know what I'm saying? It's still a thing where they need you. And hell, even I still need my parents. You know what I'm saying? Just for that particular, you know, advice. You know, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, they've already been there. You know what I'm saying? It's just a small thing of choosing the right insurance for your mortgage. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's something like that. I mean, that's just real. You know what I'm saying? That's just real life. You know, and when you don't have that, you know, somebody to bounce that off of, it kind of limits your growth. You know what I'm saying? And Kobe, you've had that, and you spoke about that, and that's one thing we wanted to touch on today was just that story, and tell you guys it can be done if you just dedicate yourself in the discipline. And we all need that. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Kobe, shout out to Coach Brown for coming in today, man. But listen, each week right here on the Fishbowl Radio Network, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. This episode will be up later on this afternoon on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. If you look in the comments, if you're watching, there's MTX Elite Inc. right there. You can click on that as well. Make sure you're following onthemarksports.com. Just a new article drop. Shout out to You Are Athlete. My guy Brandon Howard, Coach Lowe, and those guys. I was in Houston all weekend covering that event. Latest articles up on there, and there'll be some more articles before the week is out on onthemarksports.com. Check it out. Follow. You can subscribe. So every time I post something, every time we post a new episode, you'll see it. So if you subscribe now, you can get in the building. You know what I'm saying? And have the latest and greatest. A lot of great things going on in the city this weekend. Of course, hey, you know, guys that are camping this weekend, it's about to go down for you. What have you done to prepare for? Something has to be special about you in order to catch somebody's eye. There was a gang of kids, middle school and high school this weekend, and what sticks out about you? You want to get that exposure, but there has to be something. You have to do something special. Something has to. When I say do something special, if you're a corner, your footwork, your hips, your ability to close out on the offensive player to get the ball, to shut those things down. You know, this guy has all that. The length, the ability to run. You heard the times under sub 10, sub 3, 10-3 in the 100. 20-something in the 200. That's what they're tracking to see how recruitable you are and do you fit their system. Those are the intrinsic things that you have to show when you get in front of people. So I know June 1st and 2nd, all of this kicks off. Prep Red Zone has a camp that I'll be covering this weekend. Shout out to my guy, Zach. He's got a big lineman camp. And shout out to my guy, Ron Murray, man. He's got his first 7-on-7 over at Lycto Cliff this weekend, a DR7 girls flag, this weekend. So a lot of things going on for exposure-wise for you athletes.
Can I push out one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I do one thing real quick?
Yes, sir.
Hey, look here. I have a camp coming up. Go to the link. Click on the link. Okay, it's for 3rd grade to 6th graders. I want to catch them young.
Absolutely.
Kobe's gonna be in the house.
Absolutely.
Helping out. Listen, it's gonna be a lot of teaching going on.
Absolutely.
Go to MTX Elite, INC.org. Click on the link. Go to events. When you get on the website, go to events. And the flyer's there. Click on it. Let's get registered. 3rd grade to 6th grade. We're going to catch them young. We're going to teach them right now.
Absolutely. Listen, the parents, the way you get started is young. Everybody wants to know what get the exposure to the proper coaching and the proper training now for later. The investment is now, man. Right here on the On Your Mark Show. We'll be back next Wednesday live from the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts. Really focused, WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.